Barely a few weeks after an increase in the price of Nigeria's major fuel, petrol or premium motor spirit PMS, there's strong indications that Nigeria will have a further upward review of these prices. The soaring dollar exchange rate relative to the Naira may have threatened the livelihood of ordinary Nigerians, with the residents complaining bitterly and calling for improvements in the standard of living. Now, while the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, as it is now known, has announced that it is not increasing or planning to increase the pump price of petrol, there are indications from independent petrol marketers, those in the downstream, suggesting otherwise. The National Labour Congress, or the Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC, has warned that the Nigerian government needs to be careful and think about further increasing the price of petrol, as the coming days will determine what is next for Nigeria. I mean, we can smell some strike in there. Well, the current reality has also come at a period when the Naira has continued to depreciate relative to a stronger foreign currencies. And of course, this has led to an increase in the prices of goods and services in the country. We go to our guests who have joined us tonight, as we earlier introduced, Femi Dagunro, public policy analyst and founder, Lagos Forum. And of course, Olufemi Lawson, who is Executive Director, Center for Accountability or Public Accountability. Now, I'll start with you, Mr. Femi Dagunro. According to the acting governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Folashodu Oshonubi, he said that the free fall of the Naira has been falling, like a pack of cards. And he says the free fall of the Naira on the foreign exchange market against international currencies, and the likely negative impact that is having on the ordinary citizens in the country and also on their daily businesses has become a source of worry to Mr. President Bola Tinubu. This is what the acting CBN governor is saying, that the president is worried about the impact that the fall in the Naira is having on ordinary Nigerians and their businesses. Now, what do you make of this statement by the acting CBN governor? Does it make things better, and knowing that Mr. President is worried?
Yes, it's a good thing to know that the president of Nigeria is worried about what's going on. I mean, that's what citizens will expect from their president, because they elected him and they expect him to show concern about this. You remember, sometimes ago, when James Carville in America during the campaign of Clinton, he said, "Is the economy stupid?" So if you bring it back home now and say, look, the economy is stupid. Maybe it's not just the economy that is stupid, maybe the politics is stupid as well. Because we begin to see that this is a regular occurrence. It is not new. It is not something that is strange to say, look, we have recession, depression, foreign exchange crash. All these things are not something that is new. But the problem is, how have we, or how can we tame it? How can we control it? How can we manage it? That is the issue. And if we don't know how to manage, for a couple of years now, we've been having this exchange problem. We should have been finding solutions gradually before it gets to this point of Naira almost exchanging at a rate of 900 and something, Naira and 40 something to dollar. So we know this. And if the central bank will come out and tell us that, oh, we are warning speculators, they should be careful. I mean, that sounds strange, to be warning those who are destroying this economy. I believe they must have done their own intelligence. They must have gathered their own intelligence to know, where is this coming from? Who are these speculators? Do we know them? Can we appeal to their conscience? Can we use the law? What are those things? Because just saying we are going to flood the market in the next few months or few weeks or few days, it's not just enough. I've been warning them just like that. So if Mr. President has said, listen, go ahead and do this, let's have a solution. The people just want to know what solution is coming up to resolve this issue. Nigeria is not the only place where you have this situation. You have recession in other countries. You have a lot of things going on, even in Europe. So, but what is the concrete policy? What is our fiscal policy that will justify the confidence, repose in them that we know you are working for us? The concern is good from Mr. President, yes, but what are the solutions that will bring this case to an end? This scenario has to come to an end at some point, and is, let's say, a gradual step towards bringing it to an end. Just warning the speculators, I think that is just not enough.
All right, thank you very much, Joe Femi Daguro. I'll ask the same question, to Olufemi Lawson. We're going to stick with the currency, the Naira, and its woes before we get to the petrol fuel price hike or potential fuel price hike. Olufemi Lawson, what are your thoughts? Mr. President is worried. He has previously said in his two recent speeches, including that on Democracy Day, June 12, and then the recent one, he says, I feel your pain and I know what you're going through. Today, the acting governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria is telling Nigerians Mr. President is worried about the fortunes of the Naira, the slide of the Naira, and the effect and the impact on Nigerians. Does this help to hear that Mr. President is worried?
But sincerely speaking, I think you want to agree with me that for almost 8 years before May 29, the government was spent almost all the time sympathizing with Nigerians. The president was sympathetic to Nigerians. And for 8 years under the administration of President Buhari, the government became so helpless to the extent that practically it could not address fundamental issues affecting Nigerians. And that must have been one of the reasons why Nigerians voted for the man whom have been so touted as being an economic savvy, knows how to tackle the challenges of the state where he was governor, knows how to raise a team that can work and effectively deliver on the economic prosperity of the country, and that sort of promises. It is going to be most disappointing, most unfortunate, and unpleasant for us as Nigerians if the administration of President Bola Tinubu will go the same route of being sympathetic to Nigerians, apologizing, and giving excuses in the face of these challenges that we're currently witnessing as Nigerians. What Nigerians expect from the incumbent administration are fundamental and holistic approach to solving these issues. You cannot continue to apologize to Nigerians and be sympathetic. Nigerians didn't elect you to come and be expressing sympathy. If Nigerians had wanted their destiny in the hand of God, or a sympathizer, or somebody who could share in the grief that we're currently experiencing as Nigerians, we would have chosen one religious leader or one priest somewhere to come and be the president of Nigeria. Nigerians have elected you to come and tackle the challenges. Giving excuses and expressing sympathy, I think it's not the way to go. And it is very unfortunate that the government, as we speak, seems to be so clueless about what route it should take in addressing these fundamental issues, especially that has to do with our forex and of course our economy, that is crippling not only the economic life of Nigerians, but crippling the socio-economic survival of our people. And that is why, beyond sympathizing with Nigerians, I think what Nigerians are asking for is what will the administration do to ease these pains?
All right. All right. You talked about sympathy, and you said, Mr. Lawson, that the president was not elected, or didn't elect a Catholic priest as their president. My mind went to the governor of Benue State. Maybe you should make him president so that what you're saying will come to pass. But the president said it in his campaign, don't pity me. I asked for this job, and I will do it. So I'm sure that he also will know that Nigerians do not have any mercy on him. So we'll talk about the real issues tonight. Now, back to you, Mr. Femi Daguro. As at Monday, yesterday, the Naira sold for 930 to $1 US. 930 to, in fact, as we're speaking now, that's at the parallel market, by the way. I think Nigerians are betting, they're having a bet, on which of the commodities will get to, or the things will get to 1,000 Naira first. Is it the Naira? Is it the petrol price? Is it the cost of diesel, which we'll get to? So we have a bet out there. Let me just put that out there. But the Naira was sold at 930 to a US dollar at the parallel market yesterday, Monday. On the investors and exporters window, the I&E window, it was at 700 Naira to the dollar. Now, the floating of the Naira, we were told, you were told, and we're all told that the floating of the Naira was meant to ensure that the Naira has some stability, some stability. So, Joe Femi Dagoro, why is it that despite the floating of the Naira, we're still seeing a divergent and different exchange rates instead of the unitary exchange rate we're promised?
You see, the point is this. Excuse me. Excuse me. The point is this. We have to begin to know, this is, like I said, it's not the first time that we are experiencing, but it has never been this bad. That is what people are complaining about right now. It has never been this bad, and we all know. Before we talked about the parallel market, the black markets, the IE window, all these avenues, all these channels, we keep coming up with, excuse me, creative words for trying to cajole the people or making the people feel, we are doing something. I don't think really we understand it, because what is parallel market? What is black market? So you have all this market, and then at the end of the day, you come and tell us that it's the market forces that will determine this exchange rate. So what is this market forces? Who is driving these market forces? So now there's a lot of confusion out there, and people don't really know with the kind of economic theory that we are even, following or using or trying to, come to terms with. It's confusing, really. Ask any economist today. Because most of the things that we are seeing in Nigeria, the way we look at, I said it before, if you look at the petrol, go anywhere outside this country, and you will discover that if we are being told the truth, if people are just telling ourselves, if we are telling ourselves the truth, you can be buying your fuel in Europe. Let me be specific, in Germany or in Holland, wherever in Europe. As you are buying it, it might be €1.019, and the thing can just trip to €1.202. The man does not need to even climb that place to change it. It is automatic. That is the market forces, right? So we have to tell the people that, listen, this is what is going to happen. I wonder why NNPC is still saying, no, we are not increasing. If NNPC does not determine the price any longer, so why are you saying you are not increasing? So this is confusing, because if NNPC is the one deciding, then let us know NNPC is deciding. And if NNPC is not deciding, let the market forces begin to come up, and then let's see what is going to happen. And if we have to, in a way, bring back a certain, policy that will make sure that people will not have to go through this pain for this long, let us come with that policy. The only thing that I think we've done, that possibly it was just too early to have said, look, let's remove this subsidy. Yes, initially everybody said, wow, that's a good idea. But then we are seeing it now. Maybe we should have given it a bit of time, or maybe we should have done it gradually, so that we will have learned our lessons in a way to do it. But now we have found ourselves in a situation whereby it is coming every day. It is difficult. And like you said, people might be right to even bet that Naira will soon be 1,000 to a dollar. Yes, it could be. I mean, pounds is now 1 point something to 1,000 and something to a pound. So these are really, we're in a very confusing state right now. And that is why most people, we just continue to talk economic jargons and theories that cannot work.
All right.
So I believe same thing is going on with the CBN guys.
All right.
The CBN will come and say, spend 155 million upon to encourage the diasporans. This get 4 Naira to do one thing. And where has that money gone? What has that money done? So we are spending money that we cannot even account for, and we cannot see the effect of the money being spent. And the CBN governor will say, look, the Nigerian diaspora their funds is being diverted. Who diverts it? To where is being diverted? Do we know those who are diverting it? So all these things we have to provide answers. It is not just for us to reel out informations that nobody can comprehend, and we begin to find a situation that we are in a mess.
All
Let's
right.
get it straight.
Thank you very much, Joe Femi Dagoro. Let's go back to Olufemi Lawson. We're talking about the 14s of the Naira and the fact that, the government policy was, even if wasn't meant to make or wasn't eventually going to make the Naira stronger, but at least one thing that Nigerians were promised or were told, let me use that word, was a unified or unitary exchange rate as per the floating of the Naira. I want your thoughts on that, and also on this question. Are there other hidden factors affecting the 14s of the Naira? Are there other hidden factors behind the Naira's inability to maintain a unified exchange rate that the federal government is here to address? Yes, we know that they moved from the previous, determining market, for want of a better word, for the exchange rate, the official exchange rate, to the I&E regime, which reduced, sort of devalued the Naira a little bit, though they said they were not embarking on devaluation. And then from this I&E, the next thing we're hearing is we are floating, as a new economic jargon, we are floating the Naira. But are there hidden factors, working against the Naira, especially as far as, we have two markets, parallel, and then the official market, that the government is here to address? What are these hidden factors, if you think they are? Mr. Lawson.
Even though I'm not an economist, but I think, of course, as a social crusader, and from the point of my knowledge of governance and now public accountability is justified, we must come to accept one reality. That reality is that every time Nigeria is confronted with one economic challenge or the other, every time Nigeria is confronted with one fundamental issue or the other, like we're being confronted with now, it exposes the fact that most of the people whom we have elected or appointed on the basis of their so-called knowledge of the economy and other accumulated credentials do not actually understand that what is required to govern a society is far, far, far beyond whatever is required to run a private organization. You can be very successful in your private enterprise. You can be a corporate business mogul. You can, of course, have worked with international, whatever multinational organizations or whatever you want to call it. But governing a society, especially one like ours, requires more than the DY, the XZ of economy to such that has to be realistic and work in line with the needs of our people. The truth is that the president and his administration, just some 2 months and a few days old now, from the beginning, came with so much hope, came with so much assurances. But we are beginning to see a situation whereby it looks so much like the president and his team maybe people who have been cashier and accountant at one point or the other, but do not have yet those hands that will economically drive Nigeria to the expected end. There seems to be a lot of confusion in the approach of government as we speak to addressing these economic challenges. Today, key issues, fundamental policies that have been made in less than 3 months are already failing for an administration that have 4 years. Look at the free fall of Naira today on the basis of a policy initiated, like a step taken by government. And that is just one of the many instances that we are going to be confronted with in the days ahead. Why is this government not looking at the need for a review? This government is still very young. The administration is just 60-something days old. Why is this government not interested in quickly, review some of the policies that have been taken in the last 60-something days to conform with the reality of our own society.
All right.
It is beyond your academic experience or whatever professional proficiency you are coming with. Governance must be run in tandem with the reality of the society that you are coming to govern.
Thank you very much, Lawson. Yes. Thank you very much, Lawson.
It's responsible for what we're currently experiencing.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Lawson. Let's quickly go back to Jofemi Dagunro. The cable is reporting in an exclusive that President Bola Tinubu is considering what they call a temporary subsidy. This is saying they are reports. They have a source telling them. We'll be sure to confirm this in the coming hours and days. But this is the exclusive from the cable that the President Bola Tinubu is considering a temporary subsidy on petrol. Is this? We know the Kenyans have one coming with the president in Kenya recently, William Ruto, announcing something like that, a subsidy on kerosene and all that, petrol and gas. Is this what Nigerians need right now to reduce the economic squeeze that they are facing? Jofemi Dagunro.
You see, the point is that there's nothing wrong, just like Lawson said, that there's nothing wrong to review some of these things. Chances are that we might make mistakes. The government might make mistakes, and there's nothing wrong to quickly correct the mistakes if mistakes is made. Just like William Ruto, President Ruto in Kenya. But we shouldn't wait because it costs a lot of lives and property damage and so many other things in Kenya. So we shouldn't wait to that extent, and that's why this strike issue by the NLC, if it can be averted, if all this review can come out, you see, because people are looking at it. When you say you want to give 8,000 naira, nothing is forthcoming, and so a lot of people are beginning not to trust the government. The trust rate now is gradually winding down. So the earlier, the better for the government to review a lot of all these issues. We are not talking about even infrastructure anymore. We are not even looking at the issue about the ministers. The ministers have been screened. The Senate, they said, look, they're on recess. They've gone to enjoy themselves and on holiday till September. And no minister has been confirmed with their portfolio. So a lot of things are happening. And this is even coming down to the states. Some states now, they've been for a couple of days and almost 100 days, and they too don't have commissioners. So you see that this is not the way we should run Nigeria. That's why I say, is the politics stupid? We're supposed to be advancing. We're supposed to be, graduating to the next level of political development, political advancement. But rather, we are slowing down things. Can't the state governments see that, look, they need to have, and they've been spending money, without executive meetings and without all these policies being placed and people to follow it up. So you see that there's a lot of confusion, like I said, and it is high time we begin to look at it. I said it somewhere that, look, we need to give them the chances. They will make mistakes, no doubt, but this mistake should not cost us lives. It should not cost us, some psychological problems. But then now we are having some psychological problems. Some homes are now facing problems. Children are facing problems in their homes. If you look at the local level, the grassroots level, there's a huge problem beyond what we are saying, beyond what we are seeing. And people cannot eat well again. People cannot do things well again. It's affecting them. I see them. I live with these people, and I hear them, and I know what is going on at the grassroots level. So now, when you hear that even our Senate have gone on research, then that gives some people a lot of concern. Why should people just decide to just go on recess and announcing what they're going to spend? This is not the best. And we have to begin to look at it. The Naira, our fiscal policies, our monetary policies, nobody is revisiting all those things to say, look, we have tested the waters, and this is not going to be well with this situation. Let's review it. Let's reduce it considerably. The argument was only a few people are benefiting from the subsidy. Now that we know these few people, if we know them, let's begin to do something so that this thing will not go into the hands or the pockets of these few people. Then we can reduce it so that the tension will be doused, and unless we begin to look at that seriously. So if that is coming from any source that is genuine, I think it is welcome. Nigerians will welcome it. It is not as if the president is a coward, no, but it's only to show that he has listened and is doing what the people want, and it's just for the advancement of Nigeria. It shouldn't be, I can assure you kind of policy. Before you hear, I can assure you, people are fed up with, I can assure you. They can no longer wait for this assurance. They just want something to go on.
All right.
Let's not keep promising. Let's begin to put all these things in action.
Quite a very, very passionate one from you, Geofemi Dagunro. I mean, I listened to you talk about the psychological impact of the mistakes on Nigerians, and you're saying the country can afford and understand mistakes, but not mistakes that will cost lives, like we had with the Naira policies, the cash withdrawal limit and the policies of Emefiele that cost lives. You can't play with people's lives, is what you're saying. And then the psychological trauma, someone jumped into the Lagos Lagoon the other day. We don't know what led to that, but people are getting into habits they shouldn't get into because of what the country is going through right now. Very quickly, go back to you, Mr. Lawson. The Nigerian Labour Congress threatened, a nationwide strike if for any reason at all, the federal government allows a further hike in the price of petrol, now, despite the fact that they have palliatives which are still being rolled out state by state, and the federal government's agreement with all the unions and the CNG, what and not, and they also have an agreement with the government. So is this the time for such a strike?
Well, there's no specified time for when people can express their grievances. And I think the Nigerian government at this point must be concerned more about the likely reactions of the majority of Nigerians. If you look at the population of the Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, of course, whatever constitutes the workforce, public service in Nigeria today, even in the private sector, it does not constitute even 10% of the entire population of Nigeria. That tells you that even though the Labour seems to be the vanguard presently to address this issue, I think the government must be concerned about what may likely happen, whatever may likely be the resistance or the protest from the ordinary Nigerians if this continues. Now, Mr. John made mention of the fact that today, it's in the news that Kenya has reversed, is the decision on subsidy removal. But the reality is that the proportion of Nigerians that are affected by this continued increment in the pump price of petroleum, the number of Nigerians that may likely react eventually, if this increment continues, may be larger than the number that constitutes the labor movement in Nigeria. And that's why I think the government must be more concerned, even than us, the civil society or the media, which it looks like the government is so comfortable waiting for the next line of protest. But it may not just be one of those usual labor protests, because this is biting not just Nigerian workers, but the entire population of Nigerians who are now paying, in a very, very, very uncomfortable manner for the increment in the pump price of petroleum. Unfortunately, there seems to be no end in sight. And just like Labour have threatened, I see a bigger threat coming from the Nigerian people if this increment continues. I only hope the government will be sensitive enough to immediately address this issue before it degenerates.
All right. The president, when he was still candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu of the APC, said to he wasn't candidate then, but he was the leader of the APC, said to Mr. President at the time, Muhammadu Buhari, let the poor breathe, don't suffocate them. And I don't know if Nigerians can say that he is doing what he advised another man to do. We also would need to ask ourselves, does the president's body language and the decisions he's taken so far show that he has a plan? Because that is a big question. Does Mr. President have a plan? Well, let's see what happens in the days and weeks ahead. May the days of Tinubu, or may we not say in these days that remember the good old days of Muhammadu Buhari, God forbid. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Geofemi Dagunro, public policy analyst and founder of Lagos Forum, and indeed Olufemi Lawson, Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability. Gentlemen, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Right, we'll take a break.
Welcome.
When we come back, right here on Politics HQ, we talk about the latest as far as the embattled suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Gordon Mayfield, is concerned. His lawyer, and of course lawyer to the federal government, the DPP, Director of Public Prosecution, they were back in court today regarding that case. We'll look at what this means for Nigeria going forward. Please stay with us.